ESPN and Disney have a wait-and-see attitude when it comes to whatever evidence they may learn about this entire situation. And there was resentment towards her, and here's why I said it was stupid. Because when she came into the WNBA, for 22 plus years, they had been flying commercial. They were begging for chartered flights. She arrives there, and 2 weeks later, they got chartered flights. She automatically and instantaneously improved the conditions. Attendance is still lagging. WNBA is still losing money compared to what you would hope it would earn, but clearly things are on an upward trending trajectory. It's improving, and she has everything to do with it. Attendance for Indiana Fever games? Are you kidding me? WNBA draft, games on ABC, ESPN, television ratings. She's directly responsible. And people were resenting her for it, like she was the cause of the problems that they had for the lack of recognition. No, she just happened to be born white. That's it. Caitlin Clark hasn't spoken against anybody. She hasn't assisted in denying anybody else the privileges they deserve. If anything, she's tried to provide assistance. A rising tide lifts all boats. She's trying to be the rising tide that lifts the boats. And there were sisters resentful of her. Be resentful of the system. Be resentful of the folks, primarily the white folks, who basically disenfranchised y'all all of these years before she came along, who denied you the acclaim and the allure and the profits you richly deserved. But you don't take that out on Caitlin Clark. Not her. She's the one that assists you.
Stephen A. Smith just dropped a bombshell, claiming the WNBA tried to slide him hush money so he'd stop speaking on the Brittny Griner mess. If that's real, we're talking about a move so wild it could tear the league's reputation to shreds. Here's the kicker. The league's nightmare rumor, the one fans have whispered about for years, is creeping back into the spotlight. That Brittny Griner isn't who the league has always said she is. And when Stephen A. touches a topic, it doesn't just trend, it explodes. Sponsors get nervous, fans start digging, and suddenly the league is drowning in smoke it can't fan away. Stephen A. doesn't need an introduction. He's built for viral moments. Clips of his rants rack up millions of views, NBA stars weigh in, and the WNBA feels that pressure instantly. He's already cooked them for letting players target Caitlin Clark, clowning the veterans for being jealous, and calling their bitterness flat out embarrassing for women's basketball. And every single time he says it,
comes Britteny Griner right down the lane with the one hand. Griner goes in and slams it. Griner electrifies the crowd.
Side all alone, Britteny Griner, and she jams it. And then there is Britteny Griner with the stuff. That is her 12th dunk in her WNBA career.
Move out of my way.
boom, headlines everywhere. Now imagine if he points that same spotlight at the Griner situation. It wouldn't just be another spicy take, it'd be a scandal too big for the league to spin. The kind of scandal that could rip open years of secrets they've kept locked away. And Stephen A. hasn't let up either. On ESPN, on YouTube, even on his own podcast, he's been the loudest voice defending Caitlin Clark. He paints her as the future of the league while saying the vets are stuck in the past. And he's not wrong, because every time he puts Clark's name in his mouth, the views skyrocket, the sponsors perk up, and the resentment inside the WNBA just gets uglier.
You're about to be a mom. How is that feeling? Pops. Oh, let me get it together.
Pops.
About to be a pops. Please tell me.
When I first got there, the guard, I never forget him. He had jacked up teeth. I hated that man. He used to just do stuff to torment us. He opened up the mail tank for me to go into. And the other guard was like, nah, what? No, and close the door and then open up the other door for me to go in. I think he was being funny. I guess he was trying to be funny. Yeah, and I looked at him like, I ain't going up in there. You're gonna have to fight. Because I'm not going in that tank.
This right here shows why Stephen A. is dangerous for the league, because when he breaks it down, he doesn't just tell the truth, he makes it go viral. And then we've got Brittny Griner, the name that keeps popping up when fans talk about hard fouls and dirty shots aimed at Caitlin Clark. She's already sparked outrage after being caught on video dropping a racial slur during a heated moment, and while the WNBA tried to sweep that under the rug, the internet made sure it didn't stay buried. People kept the fire burning, and the clips are still floating around. Now picture Stephen A. grabbing that story, mixing it with the other rumor that's been circling Griner for years. If he ever said it out loud on live TV, the WNBA wouldn't just be in damage control mode, it'd be staring down a full-blown scandal that could detonate the whole league. Here's where it gets wild.
Okay. First of all, I want you to listen to my point, Monica, because this is funny to me, okay? Clearly, when it comes to Caitlin Clark, there's some resentment, as I've articulated before. What people are missing, Monica, is I have no problem with it whatsoever. Oh. Okay, yes, there's resentment because, first of all, you're absolutely right. This is much ado about nothing. In the heat of competition, tempers flare. You know, last time I checked, women got tempers just like men do. Ain't no problem. Ain't no problem at all. Ain't no big deal at all. I love it personally. Now, here's the thing about it, because I want to make sure everybody understands what I'm about to say. Caitlin Clark being that golden goose per se, that rising tide that's lifting all boats. I stand by my past proclamations that there's resentment towards her because of that. But I want to take it a step further. There's also resentment towards her because she instigates resentment towards her sometimes. Oh, Caitlin can clap at you now. Yes. Caitlin can antagonize you now.
For years, one rumor just won't end. The idea that Brittney Griner might not actually be a biological female. Whether people love her or hate her, that theory keeps coming back to life every single season. Online, fans point to her towering size, her strength, the way she dominates with ease, and how much bigger she is than nearly everyone else on the court. And every time she throws down one of those rare WNBA dunks, the whispers explode again. Clips comparing her dunks to the rest of the league spread like wildfire, and instead of shutting it down, they just make the chatter louder. And it's not just random trolls either. Whole Reddit threads dissect it, TikTok creators build millions of views off it, and even certain sports podcasts dare to bring it up.
Do you still want to boycott America, Brittany? No. Well, get off me. Stop. Stop. I'm weird. Why? She hates America. What about the Merchant of Death, Britt?
Fans argue that it gives Griner an unfair advantage and that the league is protecting her instead of addressing the elephant in the room. There's even a viral clip where Griner casually mentions being called Pops and recalls a time she was directed into the men's bathroom. Every time those words resurface, the conversation gets uglier, and the league looks even more desperate to keep a lid on it. Moments like this are exactly what keep the whispers alive, and why the WNBA's problem with Stephen A. is way bigger than just Brittney Griner. Because if anyone might know more than the league wants out, it's him. See, this beef didn't start with Caitlin Clark or even with Griner. It's been brewing for years.
You would think that somebody who is now free, back in America, on home soil, would not have too much to complain about.
The league and Stephen A. have been clashing nonstop, and every single time it explodes into headlines. Back on June 3rd, 2024, he went head-to-head with Monica McNutt live on First Take. Monica didn't hold back, blasting Stephen A. for only talking about women's basketball now that Caitlin Clark's a star instead of giving the league coverage years ago. The exchange got heated, clips spread like wildfire across social media, and fans were torn down the middle. Was Stephen A. really boosting the game? Or was he just chasing the Caitlin Clark wave for clicks? That wasn't the only time he rattled cages either.
Reluctant to talk about it because I know folks said we tried the quiet route. Now it's about bringing noise and putting a spotlight and putting attention on it.
In late 2023, Sue Bird herself stepped into the ring to defend the WNBA's playoff ratings, proudly claiming the league was finally getting more viewers. But Stephen A. wasn't having any of it. He snapped, calling her take disgusting and tearing into the league for pretending their ratings were stronger than reality. That clash went viral too, and what it showed was clear. Stephen A. isn't afraid to check WNBA royalty, not even legends. And if you listen back to that fiery back and forth, there's a moment where he completely loses patience, going all in, ripping apart Sue Bird's defense of the league like he'd had enough of the excuses. That's the energy the WNBA fears most. Because when Stephen A. sets his sights on their weak spots, he doesn't just critique, he detonates. This is why the league is scrambling right now. Not just because of what's floating around online, but because inside the WNBA itself, the pressure is building. The walls are closing in, and Stephen A. might be holding the match that lights it all up. Behind the curtains, whispers are spreading that some players are finally ready to break their silence. They're talking about how the league really handles things, like the way stars such as Britteny Griner always seem to get extra protection, while discipline gets handed out unevenly when the games turn nasty.
I want to say the semifinals games are up like 130%, and that's without Caitlin. Sue Bird calls out ESPN host for, quote, hating on WNBA playoff ratings after Caitlin Clark.
Fans are starting to believe the WNBA isn't protecting its athletes at all. It's protecting its image. There's even a viral clip of a fan spelling it out, saying straight up that the league shields Griner and works overtime to make sure nothing damaging about her ever leaks. That kind of talk isn't going away, it's getting louder, and the timing couldn't be worse. Sponsors are pouring money into the league, expecting clean growth and positive headlines, but instead they're watching chaos unfold.
We're working with WNBA owners that also own NBA teams, and then more broadly, the NBA owners on what the right valuation of WNBA teams are going forward, what the best way is to operate that league. It's very integrated now with the NBA. There's aspects over time under Commissioner Engelbert's direction.
From Griner's controversial behavior to clips of all-out brawls on the court, it's giving investors second thoughts about whether this league is as stable as it pretends to be. At this point, it's bigger than just Griner or a couple of bad press cycles. It's about whether the WNBA can hold on to its reputation when cracks are showing everywhere. And the fact that Stephen A. keeps calling them out while all of this unfolds, that's exactly why people think something explosive is about to drop. It feels like the league is just one headline away from a total collapse. And here's the million-dollar question. If Stephen A. really knows the truth about Brittny Griner, why hasn't he said it yet? Why hasn't he gone on First Take and set the WNBA on fire? Some say it goes back to when Brittny came home from Russia. Back then, Stephen A. was one of the loudest voices supporting her. And maybe that's the only thing stopping him from going nuclear right now.
WNBA players during the All-Star Game warm-up made a statement to the league wearing these shirts, "Pay us what you owe us," as they are currently having meetings and negotiations with the Players Association about the new CBA, and the players there have expressed frustration over the lack of progress with these CBA negotiations.
Let's welcome the ninth official, making her second All-Star officiating, Brittny Griner.
Stephen A. once said he'd stand by Brittny. He backed her when she needed time away from basketball and kept his mouth shut even while the league was spiraling into chaos. Maybe that was loyalty. Maybe it was sympathy. You can even hear it in his own words when he talked about giving her space and understanding what she was going through. But now, that patience looks like it's running out fast. Because the reasons for him to finally unload are piling up. First off, the NBA and Adam Silver have been shielding the WNBA for years. If Stephen A. decides to talk, it wouldn't just wreck the women's league, it would embarrass the NBA itself. And with Disney pulling the strings at ESPN, there's always pressure for him to toe the company line. Think about it. He's got perks on the table, exclusive interviews, juicy sponsorship deals, VIP access, the kind of incentives designed to keep him quiet about the one truth that could bring everything crashing down. Even Adam Silver has shown his hand, making it clear the NBA is keeping a tight grip on the WNBA, working directly with owners to make sure nothing spills out that could rock the boat. That's how deep the protection runs. And Stephen A. isn't dumb. He knows exactly how the media game is played. If he ever came at Brittany's gender head-on, he wouldn't just stir up controversy, he'd instantly get painted as the villain.
Why, sports reporters, well, it seems that the WNBA is, well, we know it's not a serious league, but it seems like maybe they are trying to hide something. They certainly do not want anybody with an opposing viewpoint covering their league. Now, mind you, this is a league that's never turned a profit. This is a league that, even with Caitlin Clark having joined this league last year, lost $40 million.
Doesn't matter what receipts he pulled out, brands could turn their backs on him overnight, activists would flood his mentions, and his entire career could hang in the balance. The second Stephen A. even hints at it, the whole story would flip, from the league lied to Stephen A. is attacking Brittany. And that's exactly why him holding this bombshell feels so dangerous right now. Because the WNBA isn't just fighting off rumors about Griner anymore, it's fighting battles inside its own walls. Look back at this year's All-Star Weekend, players didn't even bother to hide their frustration. The entire roster came out wearing shirts that screamed, "Pay us what you owe us." It wasn't just a fashion statement, it was a full-on protest during the league's biggest showcase, and the message couldn't have been louder. Union leaders like Breanna Stewart and Natasha Cloud didn't sugarcoat it either. They torched the league's contract offers, calling them straight-up disrespectful. And insiders are already warning that if something doesn't change, a lockout could slam the league before the 2026 season even tips off.
Going through.
If anybody at all, has a perfectly logical explanation for needing to step away from basketball to address their mental health, after what she endured, it is Brittany Griner.
That's how bad things are boiling behind the scenes. Just listen to Brianna herself. She's talked about the pressure players face and why so many of them are done playing nice. The era of silence is over and the league knows it. And that's why people believe Stephen A. is biding his time. He's not rushing to drop it. He's waiting for the perfect storm. Maybe the next time Brittany gets tangled in a major controversy, roughs up another player, or says something she can't take back, that's when he swoops in. Not as the guy starting the fire, but as the one connecting all the dots for the world to see. And don't be shocked if he's saving it for a moment so big, it shakes the league at its core.
Put on the businesswoman hat.
Learning contract negotiations with the WNBA, sponsorship meeting, what worked and what hasn't.
For a lot of the calls that we were on, it's bringing in what the players want. Why would a player do this?
Yeah, we're taking off our player hat, but also we have those experiences that we know what it takes to make this thing really.
If the WNBA gets rocked by a scandal this massive, it won't just make the league look bad, it drags Disney, ESPN, and even the NBA straight into the fire. Imagine the headlines if people start believing these giants were covering for the league the whole time. Stephen A. has even hinted at this himself, saying his own network takes a wait-and-see approach whenever controversy or evidence surfaces, basically sitting on their hands instead of tackling the issue head-on. Now, here's where it gets even scarier for the league. Stephen A. hasn't spelled it all out yet, but he's dropped plenty of hints. On his podcast, he's teased that the real conversation about the WNBA is coming and that people aren't ready to hear it on first take. Little lines slip through, like him reminding everyone that the truth always comes out, and those moments feel less like throwaway comments and more like warnings. Meanwhile, the league is hanging on by a thread. A player lockout is looming, the revenue fight is reaching a breaking point, sponsors are quietly pulling back, and Brittany Griner's name is still being dragged for all the wrong reasons. Put all that together, and if Stephen A. finally decides to unload everything he knows, the WNBA won't just be facing another PR disaster, it could be staring at the end of the league as we know it. Thanks for watching. Drop a comment with your thoughts, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video so more people can see what's really going on. And don't forget, click one of the boxes on your screen right now to check out more stories just like this. See you on the next one.